Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time I am talking about my personal worst movie theater experiences. Um, I think I've talked about some of my best experiences, which were when I talked about all of the times that I went and saw films at the Hollywood Theater. Now, there were in Portland, Oregon. Now, there were some that weren't that great, and one of them will make an appearance on this list. But um, I wanted to talk about some of my worst experiences because we've all had bad movie theater experiences, and I want to share mine. And I also want to encourage people to share their own experiences in the comments down below. I want to try to do more videos like this that are somewhat interactive, where I talk about a topic that is something that a lot of people can relate to and allows people to add their own personal thoughts to it instead of things like talking about like such and such film or such and such TV show or so on and so forth. These are videos where I can kind of take a break from that and I'm still talking about movies, but I'm talking about the experience. I'm not talking about the films themselves. I'm talking about the experience of it, and just a way to get people more involved, specifically you, to get you more involved in the channel and in the discussion. So before I get into the list, I want to talk about some honorable mentions. Seeing films that were just god awful, terrible pieces of shit, like the RoboCop remake, Ballbusters, Ghostbusters 2016. I'm not including those in my worst experiences list because it's not really the experience sucked, but the reason why it sucked is because the film sucked. Okay, it wasn't because the overall experience was really bad. The film sucked, and that's what made the experience bad. So, I mean, for me personally, worst movie theater experiences are not just seeing a bad film in the theater. If that was the case, then there would just be so many of those. That's one factor with some of the experiences that I'm going to share, but it's not the only factor. It can't be the only factor. If it's the only factor, then I don't feel that it's truly the worst. So I'm going to start from least worst up to the worst of the worst. So the least worst I personally remember was honestly one of the ones that I thought was gonna be one of the worst, but like, and the more I think about it, it's just one of those that's not as bad as I thought it was, especially when I sat there and thought about the other experiences that were bad that I had, and it really paled in comparison to some of the other ones. So the least worst I'm going to talk about is when I saw the Nightmare on Elm Street double feature at the Hollywood Theater. I saw Nightmare on Elm Street, the 1984 film, and the sequel, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge. And the reason why it's so far down on the list is because of the fact that the first film went great. The overall atmosphere was amazing, wasn't obnoxious, everything was fine. It's when you get to the sequel where things started to really slide in terms of the quality of the experience. Because you had a bunch of plastered, shit-faced dumbasses who really cheapened and dampened the experience with their quips and their really lame attempts at humor and just being all around just awful. And in a lot of ways should have been kicked out of the theater, but that's a whole other story. But they're just ruining the film experience, constantly cracking about how gay the movie is and da 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 da. It was just a really annoying experience to deal with, because it's just like, oh, come on, just shut up already. Like, why don't you just take a cab and go home? So yeah, that definitely is, it's one of the worst, but it's not the worst, and it's far from the worst, but it did suck. I have to be honest. It definitely was a pretty sucky theatrical experience for me, because of the fact that I don't mind. I like the film, and I'm personally irritated and annoyed with people moaning or laughing and poking fun at the film and saying it's gay. That's just a trigger for me anyway. So dealing with that constantly in the theater, that was really not fun. Uh, the next movie theater experience I want to talk about is when I saw the Evil Dead remake in the theater. The film I wasn't a big fan of, but the reason why this is on the list is because it was at a theater at Regal Cinemas in Vancouver, Washington, that's right at like the far end of the theater. And this seems to be like a small theater that the movie theater doesn't really try to keep up that well, because during the pre-show I was noticing that I was seeing the shadow of the film projector in one of the, I think it was like it was the right hand side of the screen in clear view, like shadow of the film projector, and I was like, this is distracting and I don't like this. And so I thought it was just going to be maybe a pre-show thing. The trailer start and it's still there. So then I go in and talk to a manager about it. And they're like, oh, we'll try to do something. And nothing gets done about it. Because more than likely they know about it and they can't fix it. So they just expect people to deal with it. So the movie starts and I'm still seeing this damn shadow of the fucking film projector in the theater, on the screen. I'm still seeing it. And to make matters worse, the film, for some reason, was not filling up the entire screen. When I go to a movie theater and I see a film, most of the time, I'm expecting to see a widescreen picture, like a full screen widescreen picture. This had black bars all over it, like I was watching the DVD or the Blu-ray, and that was pretty not a welcome surprise, so to speak, and I'm already irritated and annoyed with the fucking reflection of this film projector, and then I don't even have a full screen. So yeah, it was just not a very enjoyable experience for that, and I didn't really like the film either, so that didn't help either. The next experience I want to talk about is one where the film was great, but the experience was not so much. So I saw Dredd 3D. I saw it in 3D. And the 3D was the best I had ever seen at that point. I was just blown away by this 3D. It was a film that I was kind of leery of because I wasn't as big of a fan of the trailers as some of my friends were. And they saw the film and they loved it. And so I was like, all right, I got to go see this. And it did not disappoint. I was loving this film. And I still love this film. I love Dredd 3D. And in the middle of the film, when things are really starting to click, it's starting to get going, everything just, I hear a fire alarm, and everything just gets shut off. Everything's shut off. Lights go down. The film stops. And so now we got to do the whole thing where you file out of the theater, and you go into the lobby and wait for directions. And if it was an actual emergency, this wouldn't be on the list. It might have been, actually, though, even though if it was an actual emergency. But it wouldn't be as high in the list because it's an actual emergency. This wasn't an actual emergency. Some dickweed pulled the fire alarm, and that's why the film was interrupted. Still don't know who it is to this day, but whoever it is, you suck. Okay? You fucking suck. And people who do that anyway are just assholes. Like, don't do that. Anywhere. It's at school, or if it's at a movie theater, like, don't pull the fire alarm. It's not only annoying, but it's potentially life-threatening. Do you know that? Like, you're sending fire department personnel and all these other people to out of their way to places where they don't need to be, away from potential real emergencies. So don't be a dick and don't pull the fire alarm unless there's an actual fire. So the theater gave us free passes, and they restarted the movie up back where it left off, and it was still great, but the experience was tainted because when you're seeing a film that you're really getting into and it stops midway through and you have to go do something else you don't want to be doing, and it just overall uh, hurts the experience. So the film was great, the experience not so much. The next one I want to talk about is, because now we're getting into like the worst of the worst here. Um, I was contemplating putting this one higher, but in terms of overall discomfort, I would say it's not that high. So this is one of the first. No, this is one of two bad experiences I had watching this particular film in the theater. And that film was Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones. So this was the first time I saw the film in the theater. And I was excited to see it because I actually liked Episode 1. I saw it in the theater and I watched it a lot on VHS and DVD and I enjoyed the film. And I wasn't alone on that. Episode 2 was hyped. Okay, if you were around when that film came out, people were hyped up for it. There weren't as many people who outright hated Episode 1 and thought it was the worst piece of shit ever back when Episode 2 came out. Okay? If you didn't like the film, that's one thing, but that wasn't the majority. The majority of people were hyped and they were up for it. And I was among them. And I liked Boba Fett as a character. That was cool. And Jango Fett, was going to be in this, and I was really excited and looking forward to seeing Jango Fett. And the film gets to the point where Jango Fett's about to show up, and my glasses fall apart. My glasses fall apart. I almost swallow a screw because I'm eating the popcorn, and the screw that held my glasses together fell. One of the screws that held my glasses together, anyway, it fell into the popcorn. I almost eat a screw, choke on a screw. So that alone is bad. And then like it's during the moment of the film that I'd been waiting for. So it was just an all-around disaster. It was just bad timing all the way around. And so, okay, now I gotta I gotta get the screw out of my mouth. And then I gotta like put my glasses back on. And for the rest of the film, I'm like holding on to them. Like keeping the frames together so I could like watch the rest of the film. But it was just, it was miserable because my arms getting tired. It sucked. So that was not a fun experience. And overall, honestly, I didn't remember hating the film after that. I just hated the experience. I hated the fact that my glasses fell apart during the moment I was waiting for. I went to see the film to see this moment, and the other moments were cool too, but I wanted to see Jango Fett, and I couldn't even see. So that definitely was worse than the film itself. And to this day, I personally still feel that's worse than the overall movie. The movie's not good. So the next worst experience for me after that is another. We got a twofer here. Another going to see Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones. I don't know why I decided to do this. I think it's because it was a family get together and decided to go because, it's my family. I want to spend time with them. But like this is just a dumb idea. So we went and saw Episode 2 Attack of the Clones at an Omnimax theater. If you don't know what an Omnimax theater is, and it was just known as IMAX theater back then, okay? Because IMAX wasn't as prevalent as it is now in theaters. And so the Omnimax theater is like a dome. If you've ever been to a planetarium or you've been to a science museum locally and you've seen those films in those theaters, you know what I'm talking about. Dome theater, curved screen. You have to sit back like this and look up in order to see it. Well, for some reason, OMSI, which is a science museum in Portland, Oregon, they decided that they're going to start screening feature films in there. And we thought it would be cool, like a bunch of dolts, to see a film in that theater. and it was not cool at all. The only thing I remember from that experience is being uncomfortable, my neck hurting because I'm having to do this a lot, be able to see the dang screen, and multiple images of banana lightsabers. Because the film's not shot. Episode 2 Attack of the Clones was not shot for an Omnimax theater. So you're showing a film that isn't meant to be shown on that particular screen, and it looks terrible. It looks awful. It looks like a joke. It looks pathetic. The lightsabers are shaped like bananas. Everything's all out of proportion. I mean, if you've ever seen a feature film in that theater, it is a unique experience, definitely. But it's also a uniquely horrible experience. One that you never want to experience again. Because, man, that was just... It's bad enough that the film isn't good. Or doesn't live up to expectations. It's bad enough that the film is disappointing, but now you have you're looking at craning your neck, you're looking at a fucking curved screen, everything looks like it's playing from a funhouse mirror. Yeah, it's just a bad idea and a bad experience. So now we're getting close to the top here, and my second worst theatrical experience is seeing Black Christmas in the theater with my good friend Damien Sage. So Damien Sage is a friend that I've known since I was in high school, and we would communicate with each other through the now defunct video sharing site Stage 6. And we had a lot in common in terms of our film, and in terms of the films that we liked, and so on and so forth. And he actually offered to pay for a plane ticket to have me fly over to Raleigh, North Carolina, and hang out with him. And that experience was great. It's one of my favorite memories from high school, is being able to go and hang out with a friend. I mean, it was after I graduated, I think. I mean, but I was essentially a teenager. And so it was just a lot of fun. And it was a nice change of pace to be able to meet somebody that I've been talking to online for a while. And it was kind of scary in some ways, because the whole like, oh, you never met this person and met this person in real life before. And they might not be who they say they are. And, worried about being catfished or whatever, but that never happened. So, what was truly scary about that experience was watching Black Christmas in the theater. The first half of that of the double feature, because it was a double feature for Christmas horror films, first half went off without a hitch. I mean, Silent Night, Deadly Night was a blast. And the second film was Black Christmas. And the sound was... Oh my god, the sound was just absolutely devastating to your eardrums. Because I don't know what was going on. Maybe it was the print or something. Something was just off. Way off. And it was just so loud. It was painful. It was painful to sit there and watch. And it really tainted my experience with the film. And I mean, there's a scene that just haunts me to this day of when John Saxon shows up with his megaphone and he's talking to the police or the crowd, and it's just because it was already loud enough, and then he goes in with a megaphone, it just got even louder. I mean, I spent the whole film like this. I was like covering my ears because I was like, John Saxon, fuck you, John Saxon. Put the megaphone down. Put down the motherfucking megaphone. So, I mean, it was excruciating. So, I kind of went back and forth between like, is that the worst one, or is it the one that I'm going to talk about next? And uh, ultimately, I chose the next one as my worst theatrical experience over this one because the film, yes, I didn't watch it again for years because of how bad the experience was watching Black Christmas, but watched the film years later and I loved it, and I watched it again recently, and there'll be a review of the film fairly soon. It's one of my personal favorites, and I appreciate the fact that I was able to see a rare print in the theater, but I don't appreciate the fact that it was so loud that it felt like I was at the front row at a AC/DC concert or something. While they're firing the cannons off, I was just I don't appreciate that at all. But the first film was good, so that's why it's not the worst experience, because I had a good experience the first half of the double feature. But the worst movie theater experience for me, hands down, is seeing Beowulf. Beowulf, I don't remember anything about this film other than the pain that I was experiencing from the 3D glasses that were too tight on my head, the headaches I was getting because of that, and also because of the fact that the 3D really didn't work that much unless you crossed your eyes repeatedly. And if you didn't cross your eyes, the 3D effect wasn't very effective. And it was it was such a shitty experience. It was so awful to sit down and deal with. Okay, if you wear glasses, you know all about this trouble, about 3D glasses over your glasses. It's really hard to find the right 3D glasses that can go over your glasses and aren't a pain in the ass, don't hurt, or don't overall like mess up your overall experience of watching the film. I mean, when I saw Mission Impossible Fallout in 3D, like, because I'm having to wear these glasses over my glasses, I'm seeing my glasses in these glasses, and it's just distracting. And the film was really good, but I can't really say that I was that invested or that immersed in the film because of the fact that I'm always constantly looking at these other things. So Beowulf is that turned up to 11, where, okay, these glasses aren't fitting properly, they're physically hurting me, I have to take them off every now and then just to be able to just give my head a break. And so, so I'm not having too many painful headaches. And then, you're looking up at the screen and it's this blurry mess because you're supposed to be watching it with the 3D glasses on. And if that isn't horrible enough, then in the middle of the film, the screen just splits in two. I'm not talking about, like the print, like, split. No, the screen, like, duplicates itself. You have two different images of the same image on the screen. I've never seen this particular glitch or mistake in a theater. I've never seen that since. Never in my entire life. I mean, even describing it to you, you're like, oh yeah, come on. No, it actually did happen. The screen split into two copies of itself. And it was just an eyesore. Literally, watching this film was literally an eyesore. Because the eyes are getting tired, because I'm having to cross my eyes in order to get the 3D to work. My head is hurting because the pressure is too much. And then the screen splits in two, and then we have to wait for them to fix it. And I mean, I'm surprised we didn't just walk out at that point. I really am. Like, if that happened to me now, I'm walking out. I'm not dealing with that bullshit. I'm not. No. So, but we gutted through it, and That's what I remember the most about seeing Beowulf in the theater, is just how painful it was. Physically and mentally painful it was to watch that movie. And I've never seen the film since because I don't have any desire to watch the film because I just have so much negative memories associated with watching that movie. I don't want to get flashbacks of sitting in that theater with the glasses that are too tight and my eyes hurting because I'm having to cross my eyes too many times to be able to get the 3D to work, and then the screen splitting in two, and then getting a headache. And I don't want to. I do not want to have flashbacks to that. So one of these days, though, I am kind of curious about watching Beowulf just to see, like, is it as bad as I remember it being, or is it just a film where the experience was so mind-rendingly atrocious that it affected my overall view of the film in terms of its quality. But anyway, those are my personal worst movie theater experiences. Uh, Once again, I encourage you to feel free to share your own in the comments down below, or if you want to, make your own video. If it's a topic that sounds like it would be a fun discussion for you. Um, anyway, as always, thank you for watching. And if you like what you're seeing, you want to see more of it, feel free to give the video a like. If you want to see more of my content, feel free to subscribe. And as always, I will see you later. See ya.